Hello folks and welcome. So about a week ago I had made a video on how to use KDE Connect using a smartphone to connect to Linux Mint 22 Cinnamon. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about connecting computers, receiving and sending, and you can do this out of your file manager Nemo. I'm going to show you how to add an additional tool in here that you can actually send to KDE Connect. Currently, you don't have this tool. And then I'll talk about the limitation of how to get around to sending folders, because that tool is normally not available for that. KDE Connect was not geared towards send up folders, but I'll show you how to get around that. And I'm going to send this complete folder over to another device. I'll talk about the importance of firewall rules if you use one also. I'm going to re-emphasize that because that's extremely important. And I'll give you general tips also about using this, and I do recommend that you watch the video in its entirety to get the best success out of this type of file sharing, if you want to call it that. Filming in 1080, welcome. Subscription key is in the corner. I highly recommend that you subscribe. That way you can start watching this today, watch it tomorrow, the next day, whenever you have time. And you can also have and watch the other video on how to install KDE Connect on your smartphones and also on Linux Mint 22. So let me rehash some of the stuff I talked about the last time. I have an applet in here, and the only reason I use this applet is so it can give me post-it notes with KDE Connect when it sends, or I should say receives, files. That applet is called KDE Connect Applet, found in Downloads. As you know how to install applets, or maybe not, you click the arrow key to install any of these things. And you can just type in KDE and find that applet, KDE Connect. Then once it's in Manage, you click the plus key. Okay. And that becomes active on your panel. And I use this to monitor incoming. That's the reason for this applet. So KDE Connect is available for lots of different computers and smartphones. I'm using an iPhone today, and a laptop and a tower computer. You can also use an Android phone. You can also, if you want to think about it, KDE Connect is pretty much available for all the Linux family desktops in their respective repositories or software stores. They behave slightly different from desktop to desktop. In addition to showing you this tool about sending files directly from your file manager, Nemo, I'm also going to talk about organization of folders that matches up with the connection. So if you have 4 of these, then create 4 folders. Now, why would you want to do something like that? Well, do you want all the files being dumped in your downloads folder at the same time, mixed up with the stuff that you have for downloads from your browsers? If you're okay with that, that's not a big deal. I prefer to have these in containers. So I got 2 from this laptop, 12 from the iPhone, and 1 from that other tower computer. So they're all separated out. That can be photos, they can be files. On my previous video, I talked about installing KDE Connect on the actual smartphones. That's requirement 1. So you can have lots of different computers. And on the iPhone, if the device uses battery, it's normally reported also. That's a laptop. And you can see it's sitting at 35%. It's low. Now, my laptop currently is not. I have a special icon here that if I right click, the laptop is currently at 100% because I have it sitting on a charger. But more importantly, you can see there's a pairing request for an MX machine, XFCE. This is Zorin 17.2. It's a GNOME desktop. Fedora workstation, a GNOME desktop. Endeavor OS, an Arch-based distribution, Plasma desktop. Linux Mint 21.3. Linux Mint 22, I believe this is XFCE, and this one is Mate. Linux Mint 22. So yes, you can connect that to a lot of different machines. But they all have different ways of doing things as far as messaging, and maybe their file managers are slightly different. We're just going to focus in on Cinnamon today. Okay? So you can send pictures from an iPhone. I'm just going to let you see that it has 12 items, and I'm going to close that. I'm sending a photo to this computer. It's just a nature shot. And you can see there's a Post-it note up here. So I'm aware that there was a file received. That's the whole reason for this applet. So now when I open up Downloads, I have an extra item in my iPhone. An extra photo, that one. Again, if you don't care about disorganization and you want them all dumped in one container, that's fine. But I will show you how to do that later. But let's talk a little bit about this. You don't have that in your menu currently on your Nemo file manager. And this tool is also available on Linux Mint 21.3 if you're on the previous version. Okay. Let's go over to System Settings, Control Center. You can also do the right click on your panel bar. Action items. All right. Inevitably, somebody always sends me messages back, hey, certain thing is not available because they didn't watch the whole video. I'm just going to encourage that you watch the whole video if you want to do this correctly and have success. I was told by this one user, oh, I don't have action items in Linux Mint 22. It's been available for the last two previous distributions. Linux Mint 21.3 also has action items. In Linux Mint 21.3, you just have two columns, but it still has this. 22 has the layout. All right, anyways, go to the download section and type in KDE. This will not be installed by default. So this is made by RCALIXTE. You will need to install it. There'll be an install button here. So the install buttons look like what? Just like any other applet. Okay, so if you go over to download, let me just eliminate that. You have these arrow keys. You find that, send to KDE Connect, you hit that, that'll be in here, and it puts it into this category, and then you click that and hit plus. That puts it in your file manager's menu. All right, I'm going to show you the location. Edit, Preferences, Plugins. It's right here. I just turned it off. So if I right click on a file now, you won't see it. Just like you would prior to installing. Now, if I click that, that is now available for me. So long as you understand, that's a plugin. Okay? So I can technically select multiple files and send with KDE Connect to the devices that are currently online. So if it is an iPhone, in this case, you have to be connected to it. You can't be doing text messaging or anything else. The app has to be open and facing you. It's a security thing with the iPhone. If I'm doing something else on the iPhone, like right now, you'll see that connector just go offline. This was already initiated, but it'll fail. But if I redo that, it only has two items. So I'm going to turn, the app is just minimized. I'm going to turn it back on. Now it's reconnected. That's a quirk with the iPhone. And I believe it's a security thing. But in either case, if I send that file to a computer, it ends up in their downloads by default. Unless you do the organization trick that I'm about to show you in a couple of minutes. Then it would be in a subfolder. But if it's a file going to the iPhone and you hit send, it's going to get received in your iPhone under, I'm going to try to find the right screenshot here. Yeah, file transfers. So in the KDE app on your iPhone, you have three tabs: Devices, Files, and Settings. It will be received in Files in here because it's a general file. It's not a photo. However, if I decided to send a photo to the iPhone, Okay, in other words, send that. Then it ends up directly in the photo library on my iPhone. I don't have to mess with it. That's a nice feature. And from there, you can just delete it if you didn't mean to send it. It just magically appears in your photo library. And I still think it's a nice feature, but that's just me. Now, what about a folder? How do we get around this limitation? So let me get rid of all the Post-it notes and put this in the center. So you can see that I can right-click and send a file, whether it's individual or I can select a couple of them by holding down the Control key. Okay, I can still send, providing the devices are online. But what about a folder? Well, if I right-click on a folder, that option is not here. However, it will be on some of the other desktops. I believe XFCE, if a tool is available in the XFCE file managers, which is Thunar, you can sometimes try to do that, but it will be met with failure. Trust me, I've done it before. But I have a limitation workaround on this. So this icons folder, as you can see, has several icons with several subfolders. Well, what I'm going to do is create a single file out of this so I can send it to the laptop. Right-click, compress. Do you know what tar is? If not, I've talked about backup videos. I have lots of videos on my YouTube site, well over 450, at least the last time I checked. Well, it's over 400. Anyways, when you're doing this, you have several selections. Now, tar is not compressed, tape archive. It's been around since the Unix days, like me. But 7Z is compressed, and so are some of the other derivatives of tar. But I like to use tar because it's quick. I just leave the name. And basically, this is all I'm doing here. Right-click, compress, leave the name, tar, create. That file I can send without a problem. What's in this box? Everything that was in the other icon folder. So basically, here it is. Everything is in the box. So I'm going to right-click, send with, and I'll send it to the laptop. And if you listen closely, you'll hear it. My laptop gave me a Post-it note that I just received a file. Now I'm going to open up my laptop. I'm turning my head because my laptop is on my right side. And there's the file. It's a tar file, yes. And then I can open the tar file on my other system rather easily. Just about every Linux distribution has a capability of opening up a tar file. Okay, again, what's in the box? This folder. That's how I got around the limitation of sending that folder using tar. Now I'm going to delete that because I don't need it anymore. I've also shown how to make backups using tar, if you want to see those videos. Now let's talk about organization of these folders. After that, we're going to talk about the importance of firewalls. Or let's get the firewall thing over first, and then we'll talk about organization. All right, right-click, System Settings. I inevitably get these. It doesn't work. I can't send or receive anything. All right, first of all, it doesn't matter what you're using if your firewall is on. Even if you're using Warpinator, which is another file sharing application built by Mint, you need firewall rules. I have some for KDE Connect. How are they done? Plus, KDE, direction, both. The default is in. I use both. Why? Because I want to not only receive, but I also want to send. Port numbers, TCP, UDP. Really don't care, but more importantly, if you want to look them up, you can. But you want to see in and out if you're wanting to send and receive. If you kept the default, they'll be in only. You will have problems sending. Firewalls are generally designed to deny incoming requests. Okay? But I like to put the rules in there to make sure they work. But that's up to you. It's allow outgoing, but more importantly, I like to put these kind of rules in there. There's lots of applications with these kind of shortcuts. All right, so all you got to do is type in KDE. You can just keep the defaults if you like, as long as that says allow outgoing. But I like to put in both. That's just me. I'm funny that way. So this is GovW or UFW. It's a simple firewall, and it's found on a lot of Linux desktops, different distributions. There's also Red Hat firewalls, and those are configured slightly different, but it's the same old thing. You need rules to make things work. All right. Okay, I'm done with that. So now let's talk a little bit about organizing these folders. Because when I send stuff from those devices, whether it's the iPhone, the laptop, or the tower computer, I don't want them scattered all over my download folder. Because I'm using that also with the web browsers. I have 3 of them here. And that came from one of these downloads off these web browsers. Because it's not in the folder. So that's coming from my phone, laptop, and the tower computer. How do you get this done? Okay, in here, after you install KDE Connect, you have several tools. Okay, you have the indicator, which I have currently on the panel, which I'll talk about next. It's a small white K. And we have settings. Now, I found one XFCE desktop that was actually in the settings. But on this Cinnamon desktop, you just click that. So I'll talk about a couple of things in here. Now, this KDE settings box is also very similar, if not identical, on all the other different desktops. I found one XFCE desktop, but this was broken. It wouldn't even open. And on this one, it does work. And you can also refresh the connectors by doing this to see if they're all online. It's kind of like a, are you still there kind of thing. You can also change the name of the connector. I recommend just keeping it, unless you've got a whole bunch of computers all called Linux Mint 22 or LM22. Then you may want to use A, B, C, D, E, whatever letter or numbers. So when you're connecting to them, you'll know which one is which. That's not the reason I brought you in here for. I wanted to point this out to you. Now, why am I moving that to the side? You'll see that in a second. I'm going to open up the file manager. So ahead of time, if you want to do this organization, how many connectors do you have? If you have 4, then create 4 folders. Just match them up to the names that are here. So right-click, create folders. So my iPhone, T-Man Lap for the laptop, and this T-Man 21 for the tower computer. So what I'm going to do is point out some of the information that's in here. The first thing you'll see is whatever you clicked on, is it paired or not? Well, if it's green, it's paired. There's also the encryption key, which is not the same as this one or this one. All right. You can also unpair them. You can also send them a ping. But you also have check marks of the stuff that's available. Now, the battery monitor I'm going to talk about with this icon next. But more importantly, I am going to go down to here and talk about share and receive. White box. This is your default, which will be on all the machines that you install KDE Connect on computers. So whatever Linux family or distribution or desktop, the general idea is to install that in your home folder downloads. But what I did was create subfolders. So what I did was I click that, click the downloads, and click the appropriate connector. So if you're working with the iPhone, that would be that folder. And hit OK or open. That puts the path in there. Then you're done. Then move to the next one. And you find the same category. And you do the same thing here. This is T-Man Lap or Laptop. It's just a short version of that. And open. And that it reassigns that folder. Instead of dumping all the incoming, keep in mind these are receiving, into downloads, it puts it in a subfolder. You can also change the destination. But if you want to keep it, well, in a semi-organized manner, just leave it in your downloads. And you can do the same thing with all 3 of these. On some of the other desktop, I found one XFCE desktop that this was broken. When you clicked help, nothing happened. But on this one, it does work. All right. So that's what that's used for. A little bit of organization, so when the files are being sent from the iPhone, they're received in this folder, not scattered in here. The same thing goes with these. And here's the cool part about how big these icons are. I'm going to do this on the fly. I've talked about this shortcut many times. Hold down your control key while scrolling backwards makes these smaller. You see nothing. You can also use the drag bar down here, or you can go to the menu and you can do this part. I just like to use my control key and my computer mouse. So now you don't see numbers under there, but now you do. I'll make these a little bit bigger. Now that's too big, and I want to drop it back one and let go of the control key. Your file manager should remember this. This is, again, Nemo. So I talked about adding this tool here, okay, which is Send with KDE Connect, and it has to be active for you to see that in the menu. If you're trying to send a folder, it does not. My suggestion, if you're trying to, I'll pick a different folder this time. If you're trying to send this whole folder with these these are compressed mouse pointers, mouse cursors, whatever. If I wanted to send that, I'm going to do a compress using tar, which is not compressed. Tape Archive is not. And it creates it rather quickly because that tool works very, very fast. It works even faster if you've got a solid state drive. But anyways, moving along, right click and I can send that now. Now that I probably would not send to the iPhone because it's useless. But to these computers, they may have some use for those mouse pointers. I'll send it to the laptop. And you can hear that little chirp. My laptop just received that tar file, and I can untar it, if you want to call it, on the other computer. Again, all Linux distributions should be able to untar these things. And you just extract, or you can even get more creative if you like, and just do one. I've shown that trick before too. Okay. So, recap. Firewalls are important. If you don't have rules, things don't work if your firewalls are on. So if your firewall has color on Linux Mint uses GuffW. Okay, it's a simple firewall, or UFW some people call it. I call it Guff. But in either case, if it's got color, that means it's on. If it's got no color, it is off and disabled, and you don't need rules. When the firewall is on and you're trying to get communication programs like KDE Connect, you need rules to make it work, and that's done through plus. And you go find KDE Connect. All right, I like both. You can try the in only because you have allow outgoing. That's all up to you. I personally like to have these put in. That's just me. I'm funny that way. I also recommend rebooting when you change firewalls. On some computers, they don't take immediately. That's why I recommend that. It doesn't matter which of your Linux desktop family you're using. My recommendation is always the same. You change something on a firewall, reboot is what I recommend. Okay. You probably hear my phone going off. That's not anything to do with this project. Now I'm going to silence my phone because somebody's at the front door there. And more importantly, I'm going to move on. Firewall 1. This is a shortcut, and I was going to make mention of that. I'll do this now. This KDE Connect indicator normally does not load if you click that, but if you click the indicator, it will give you a white KDE Connect somewhere on your panel bar, and then you can right click on it and take a look at the connectors if they're active. You can probably see, or maybe not, this says battery 90%. That's what I have on my iPhone. It says 92 on the iPhone. Close enough though. But I'm going to put that on my charger, mag charger. And it says charging immediately. So these messages are pretty quick. You can also send a file to the iPhone from here if you want to walk through the tree. My suggestion, though, is to use your file manager new tool that I just showed how to install if you want to do this. But you can still do this from here. The only thing you can't do is you will be met with failure if you try to do a folder. My suggestion is to still use that method. Okay? But in either case, I will try to send this a folder, and I think it'll probably hang. I'll try it, but it didn't give me anything. So let's try this one more time. Now it went into a subcategory. So again, this doesn't work too well when you're doing it that way. That's why I'm suggesting you use your file manager. But in either case, if you're just wanting to see battery information on some of these devices, now the laptop, I'm sorry, that's not the laptop. That's a tower computer. It uses no battery. It's plugged in. The laptop, on the other hand, does show you battery information. And it is currently at 100%. I have a charger on it. And the iPhone is now, well, it's charging, but not anymore. And one more time, if you decide to pick up your iPhone and check text messaging, the connector goes away immediately. This is all done through your Wi-Fi network. Okay? And I'll let you see it when it comes back online. There it is. All right. You can also send from here. Same deal. I wouldn't recommend folders, but you can do individual files. But now that I've shown you this new tool, this should make it rather easy for you to do this with a single, multiple, or folders sent to KDE Connect to these different devices. And if you are using a folder, doesn't matter what it is, my suggestion is to make a tar. Send the tar over to the device, and then when you get done, just hit delete. It's like a temporary measure. That way you can keep your original folder. You can do a lot of things with KDE Connect. Is it a perfect tool? No. You'll also find that the messaging system on some of the XFCE desktops do not post because the XFCE4-Notify-D does not handle notifications very well. However, I understand, and I'm not going to name the developer, there is a project running on GitHub that someone is making a connector for notification for KDE Connect on XFCE desktops. On that note, thank you for watching.